the only show that's 3 dimensions away from Rob Zombie never getting the Munsters. I'm your host, 3D Jake, and today we're looking at Rob Zombie's The Munsters. It came out in 2022. The Munsters is essentially a remake of the 1960 show, and it's written and directed by Rob Zombie and stars Jeff Daniel Phillips, Daniel Rubluck, and Sherry Moon Zombie. And the movie is essentially a love story between Herman and Lily Munster. This piece of the movie is a really, really big piece of shit. Just want to start that out by saying, I watched it with a family member of mine, and I was like, I told her, I said, if you were not here, I would just turn this movie off like 10 minutes in, because this is a horrible, horrible movie. Like this movie, this and another movie I saw recently are two of the worst movies I've seen all year, and I'm like, I could easily see the Razzies nominating this for Best Picture or Best Worst Movie of the Year. So I mean, this is really bad. I mean, and the weird thing is, you know, apparently Rotten Tomatoes and some other critics are really nice about it. You know, like most critics have said, most people have said this movie's a piece of shit. You know, but like there are some people out there that I've seen that are like, hey, it's not that bad, and I'm like, am I crazy or something? Because like, everyone I've talked to, I've not met one single person that either has seen it and has not been able to finish it because it's so bad, or has seen it all the way through and said, yes, it is 100% bad. I don't understand where people are going with this. I mean, it's so ridiculous. You know, it's like, I don't understand. I'm just sitting there like, what the hell is wrong with you? But I mean, I'm saying people aren't entirely. It's all perspective. You know, there's movies I like that people didn't like. I thought Morbius was fine. I mean, I didn't hate it, but at the same time, Morbius is Citizen Kane compared to this movie. I mean, not only is it looks cheap. Like the movie looks like it's shot cheaply. Like I would it's like the way it's shot. I would say it looks like it's a Kickstarter movie. You know, like the movie. I'm gonna try to say some nice things about it. I got like 4 things I could say nice about it. That's about it, really. But the movie feels like it's cheaply made, you know? Like, it's essentially a love story. Like, it's not like, it's essentially, I would say like a prequel before you get to the TV show, in a way, where it shows you how Herman and Lily met. Like, and I will say, when I saw the trailer was like exactly what the movie is. When I saw the trailer, I was like, you know what? This looks bad, but I'll watch it. Maybe because sometimes trailers are misleading. I watched it, and you know, I will say one thing that was positive compared to what this was. I thought Jeff Daniel Phillips as Herman Munster. I thought he looked terrible in the trailer. I thought he was awful in the trailer. But then when I saw the movie, I thought he actually did a better job in the movie. I was like, you know what? He actually was pretty good in the movie. I actually, like, I'd go out and have a beer with the guy. He actually looks decent, you know? And, you know, I actually laughed at when he, like, you know, the way he made some facial features where he's like, like, I actually chuckled at that. There's a couple moments in the movie I did chuckle at. And I will say, Daniel Rubluck, who plays Grandpa Munster, you know, I really thought he was great. I thought he was great as the role. You know, he wasn't terrible. He actually was probably the best character, you know, the best actor in the movie. Him and another guy, I think, what was it, Richard Brake. He is like a supporting character in the movie. Like, he plays like 2 different roles. And also, I want to point out, a lot of the same actors play like multiple roles in the movie. This is one of those movies where, I guess, where they were shooting all like you'll see like Grandpa Munster played 3 or 4 different characters in the movie. You'll see Jeff Daniel Phillips, who plays Herman, played 3 or 4 different roles in the movie. The only person that doesn't play 3 or 4 roles in the movie is Sherry Moon Zombie, which I understand people have been criticizing her in this movie, saying that's just nepotism. And I'm like, I actually thought she was decent. Like, she kind of reminded me of the original Lily, although the original one's still better. I think she did a good job as Marilyn Munster, or Lily Munster, sorry. Marilyn's the cousin that's not in this movie. You know, and there is no Eddie Munster in this movie either. Although the original actor that played Eddie Munster has a voice cameo as a robot that marries Herman and Lily. Yeah, and also Richard Brake is Herman's creator, scientist creator who creates him. He actually, there's a scene that something happens to him in the movie that actually made me chuckle. And if you watch the movie, I really wouldn't recommend you watch it, but there's something that happens in the movie to him that where he's wearing his shirt because it's like the only thing he has left of, you know. But anyway, when you see his face, you'll laugh. But anyway, he has that. And he plays 2 different roles. He plays the Herman, the scientist that creates Herman Munster, and he plays a vampire. I think his name was Ulrich or whatever, but he's like mostly called the Disco Vampire. And basically, every time you hear techno music, he literally is dancing like with techno. And there's like one joke I laughed at in the movie with him where he, between that, there's two jokes, like there's 3 or 4 jokes I laughed at in the movie, but 2 jokes like with him I laughed at. One was when he played the scientist, and then when he played the vampire, when he does the same with the disco vampire scene. I'm like, are you kidding? There's a sign where he tries to bring Lily Munster to his house, and there's a giant display sign, and what the sign says, and when he's making mannerisms, I actually started laughing. That actually made me chuckle when I watched that scene. I actually got a good chuckle out of that scene. But then, and then you see him later with shades on at a rave, and he's like, disco vampire. I'm just like, are you kidding? I actually chuckle at that too. I'm just like, it's a quick blink and you miss it. Just like he's there, and you see there's people with gas masks on that are like have like neon lights aside there. And it's like, look, up there on stage, just, it's ridiculous. Like I will say, this movie is weird. Like it feels like it wants to be Rocky Horror Picture Show sometimes, but like a poorly executed version of that. Like it feels like it's got great set decorations. I will say some of the positives for me. The set decoration is amazing. Like it looks like something professionally done. Like I will say the sets are amazingly built. I will also say that the acting is not terrible. Like the directing and acting are not bad. It's just like it feels like the way it's shot feels cheap, and like it feels like everything is on a soundstage, and it just feels like some of like the costumes and stuff just come off. Like there's a scene where like they're watching Creature from the Black Lagoon, and they're supposed to be watching with a creature, and it just looks like they have a dummy, and they're just moving the dummy like and it's in the trailer, and I'm just like, it looks so stupid, it looks awful, and I'm just like, why would you do that? And like some of the costumes, I didn't like the Herman's costume where he looks like he's just wearing a fur coat. I didn't like that, and also some of the like set costumes I just wasn't a big fan of. But I mean the sets, the decorations was great. Which Rob Zombie, before I think he was a musician, he was a set decorator, so he knows his sets really well. And I really thought this was a great set decoration piece. I mean, I did not like this movie, and the family member I watched it would describe it to me saying like, if this was made on Nickelodeon and Rob Zombie's name was not attached to it, I think people would probably appreciate this more. People would say, well, it's on Nickelodeon, what'd you expect? But I think the fact is most people got mad is because it's from an acclaimed director who, was like, they were waiting for this because they were thinking, oh, this is going to be the best movie of the year, or at least his best Halloween movie for a while. Instead, we just got a mediocre film, and I think that's what, or not even a mediocre, we got a shit film. A mediocre film would be okay, but this is not even a mediocre. We got like an awful movie, and it's like, it's like anything you could think of. It's not good, and it's just awful. Like, it's just like, it feels like a joke. Like, it just feels like a parody of the monster. Like, I've even people describe it as a porn parody, saying this is like a porn parody without the sex. And I'm like, I would describe it as, if this was a cartoon, it would probably be okay, but this is not a cartoon. Like, there's even sound, like, when you see someone in love in the movie, they're just all of a sudden, like, it's a background with love symbols, and I'm like, what the hell? Like, this is not, it's almost like, and there's also transitions where, when they transition a scene, like, it'll transition, like, into, like, for instance, if there was, like, Grandpa Monster, it'll transition into a bat scene, almost like Adam West 66 Batman, where it go, and I'm just like, are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Like, and just stuff like that, especially, like, when they're making Herman, it's almost like an anime mixed with Batman 66, like the Speed Racer anime with Batman 66 with the monsters mashed in there. Because every time, like, when they're creating Herman, there's even a scene where he's like, ah, ha, ha, it's like a green screen of, like, lightning bolts. Just like, what? I'm like, stuff like that is where I had an issue with the movie where, like, and also, the whole movie is the trailer. If you've seen the trailer, you've seen the movie. Because that's the whole entire film is the trailer. Like, that's the whole movie. Like, if you literally are expecting them to go to California and go to Mockingbird Lane and all that, that's only like 10 minutes, the last 10 minutes of the movie. And the movie doesn't even really have a conflict or a villain in the movie. Like, it's supposed to have some kind of like Lily's brother owes like a gypsy some money, and so she needs to get him Monster Castle from Grandpa Monster, and he tricks Herman, but through some legal but because he's supposed to marry Lily, so he's supposed to be the man of the castle now, which would never work in a legal sense of any kind of convoluted bullshit. So he basically, and then at the end, he shows them up and says, "Hey, I got a check for you. Here's the check." And I'm just like, are you serious? Like, it just wraps itself up like that to where it's like, it feels like they didn't have any more money, so they're like, all right, I gotta wrap it up, so we'll get some exposition. Just walk and say, I went to Vegas with my winnings from the house I sold, and here's your rich. He goes, I'm rich. And this, you know, and it's just like, there's a great, I will say this, there is a great animated sequence at the end for the ending credits, and I really thought, man, if that would have been the whole movie, if they could have just made this animated like that type of credit sequence, this would have been a great film. You know, because, I mean, at least it would have been enjoyable. We know this, like, for instance, the Addams Family movies that they've made, the last two ones they made, the animated ones, if they were live action, they would probably be awful. But the fact that they're animated, that's what makes them so great. Like, I understand, if this was a cartoon, this would have probably been much better and people wouldn't have complained. But the fact is, when you even if it was a cartoon, it probably wouldn't be as good. But, like, still, it just doesn't feel good. Like, I'm sitting there watching this going, this is Rob Zombie's worst film he's ever made. Like, I really hate to say that, because I really enjoy some Rob Zombie movies. I love House of a Thousand Corpses. I think Devil's Rejects is his Citizen Kane, because I think it's well shot, it's well directed, well edited, well acted, well choreographed. Everything about it is perfect. It's a great soundtrack, everything, and it has such a beautiful ending to where it's like, it's beautiful ending. And then he fucks it up by trying to make a third film of it. But, you know, that's beside the point. But, and I also thought his two Halloween movies were decent. I like the 2007 remake. I own both films, and I really enjoy the 2007 remake. And I will think there are some things he did in the remake that I thought he did better than Carpenter. While I still enjoy his movie, I like moments in Halloween 2. There are some really strong moments in Halloween 2 that actually got me emotional. And I also like, you know, I did not like Lords of Salem. I thought it was complete garbage. And also, I did not care for 3 from Hell. I did really like 31. And guess what? The sad thing about 31 is, that was a Kickstarter movie, okay? That was a Kickstarter movie, and it looks professionally shot. Like, Rob Zombie went to Kickstarter because no studio would give him the funds for it. You know, this was back before he even made 3 from Hell. He made 31, went to Kickstarter, and I followed that thing all the way through. Like, I watched all the updates they were doing and everything, and he literally got the funds, went and made a great film. I actually enjoyed 3 from Hell. I thought it was not 3 from Hell, 31, sorry. 31. And I actually thought it was a decent film, and I watched it, and I'm like, that's a decent film. I would watch this again. This is not a bad film. And it looks well shot and well made. You know, compared to this movie, if you would have told me this is a Kickstarter film, I would believe you, because I'm like, it's not well shot. I mean, they couldn't afford a good DP. You know, like 3 from Hell, which is a Kickstarter movie, has a better DP than this movie. And it's not Rob Zombie either that's the DP. It's some other guy. I'm like, was this a commercial director that directed this? I mean, I'm not trying to be mean, but I'm just saying, it's badly shot, and it just looks cheap. It really does. And, you know, like, the costumes and stuff look fine, but, like, it just looks, and, like, it just doesn't look like really well shot. Well, like, it just looks like green screen cheapery. Like, it just looks like they shot, like some people have said that they spent $40 million to make this movie. You know, and, like, they're like, where did the $40 million go? Because did Rob Zombie launder this money? Like, people were accusing him of being a criminal. And I'm like, Rob Zombie had to make a statement saying, I did not spend $40 million on this movie. He goes, I can make 10 of these movies if I spent $40 million on this movie. He said, I'm not going to reveal the budget, but it's not $40 million, so we can debunk that. But I do agree. It's definitely under $40 million, so you could tell. If they would have probably had $40 million, it probably would have looked a lot better. And I think, you know, one of the biggest negatives is the way it's shot, you know, the way it is. The way it's too campy. Like, it's like, literally, like, imagine if he did Batman 89, and then he took the campiness from 66 and went in 89, and every time Michael Keaton punched somebody, it went pow, bam, boom. That's what it feels like here. You're watching. It feels like he went and took the wrong notes from the 60s show and then put it in this movie, and that's what it really feels bad. I even showed it to, like, I even literally sent a clip of it to my mother, and I showed her, and I'm like, this is a scene from the movie, and she goes, this looks awful. And I'm like, it is. And I'm like, you know, it just, at the end of the day, it's really up to your own opinion. You might like it. I mean, obviously, Rotten Tomatoes has seemed to really be on Rob Zombie's side. They actually are being really generous to him by giving him 30% on Rotten Tomatoes. Yeah, Rotten Tomatoes, which, by the way, Rotten Tomatoes is not a real site, really. Like, they're just, like, they're an opinion-based site. Like, you don't really, make up your own reviews, okay? You don't really listen to a fruit-based website. Okay, like listen to Rotten Tomato. Listen to a real person. Like listen to a real. Make up your own opinion. Don't just listen to people. That's just my opinion on this movie. Don't listen to Rotten Tomatoes because look, they said there's movies that they gave 23% to that are actually decent movies. That I'm like, you gave this movie, which won an Oscar, like a 23%, but you're giving, this movie right here 30%. Are you serious? Just stuff like that. I just thought was rude, but don't listen to them. That's a stupid website. Don't worry about that. But just watch the movie for yourself. I mean, if you have the nerve. Most people you probably won't make it through it because you'll probably get annoyed after 20 minutes in. But it's for Halloween. I'm sure. Besides, I could see people watching this just for once. People love watching Hubie Halloween for Halloween. I could see people watching this for Halloween. If I had to give this movie a grade, I'm going to give it an F. Thank you so much for watching. If you can, I'm going to have some great Halloween reviews coming soon. So thank you, and just fall down the rabbit hole for more.